It's
But you
just
just
like,
you felt a vibe, you felt a connection.
yeah, I mean,
there.
I did, because I could tell that, he was, into the same kind of stuff that I'm into, and
Yeah, you listen to the show.
Yeah.
Morning becomes eclectic. You
Right.
know what he likes, so you're thinking,
Yeah.
my music will resonate with this guy.
yeah, and it was amazing, because like I sent him some stuff, the next week, and he started playing it, and he really got behind it, and he's been, a big, good friend.
Yeah.
So.
Every artist needs some patrons or some
Yeah.
mentors that
Yeah.
can assist them. And something which I think is very interesting, and I thought was very ballsy of you, is to forego the big label. You said you reined it back in. You want, your
Right.
first EP came out, got the recognition. Then you decided, well, you had major labels interested in you.
Right. I mean, honestly, we could get in that sort of discussion about, the whole industry versus art kind of thing. I mean, it wasn't like, I mean, thank you for saying that it was ballsy, but honestly, it just seemed to make sense to me. It was like, it's like, if you can do it without going, and essentially all you're doing is you're going and you're borrowing money from them.
Exactly.
And
Good way.
paying a pretty exorbitant rate,
Right.
like they want to own your masters. And it just seemed like more than just that. It was like, I knew that they would never let me, no matter how much they claimed to believe in me and my process, that they would never let me make the record that I needed to make. There was no way they'd let me hole up in a studio without letting anyone in the door and producing it. And like, so it wasn't really like, it wasn't even a decision that took a long
But the
time.
lure of, that attractiveness
Yeah.
in America, when you have
Yeah.
the big machine behind you, and suddenly that can be incredibly intoxicating if you're not well grounded and you don't have the moral fortitude to say, this is how I view myself and my process in the pop world, pop landscape.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, like, it's a different business, That's a different business
Right.
from the business I'm in, and like it's fair enough, It's a business like any other. I mean, some people sell hamburgers, and that's cool, and it's like some people sell records, and I guess the thing is like, where I have the biggest problem is the people that are slinging guitars who are also in that business. You know what I mean?
Sure,
It's like,
completely, yeah.
and it can get confusing at times, because you're like, well, man, there are times where you're like, well, why are people buying into that?
Mm-hmm.
Don't they realize that it's just a show?
Well, you also don't have the support, I think, in the old days during the Renaissance period of music in the late 60s, early 70s, where an A&R guy would really nurture an artist
Right.
and say, you know what, you didn't sell 30,000 records, who cares, we love your art.
Right.
We're going to give you a 10-record deal, whatever it may be,
Right.
and allow you to find yourself or be yourself as an artist. Jazz certainly has always been that way, because jazz, typically jazz records don't sell so many copies, but today it's high-stakes poker with a label.
Yeah, and it's, I think it's sad, really, because I think there are people who are at labels who probably got into it for all the right reasons,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just, it's like politics, man, you end up coming out the other end and you don't even know why you got into it to begin with, It's just like...
And the internet now, it makes it so incredibly easy for an artist to reach an audience and to reach distribution points that typically 5 years ago you couldn't reach.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like, I've been very lucky to come along at the time that I have. I feel like, things are kind of aligned in the right way for me to be able to do this, for sure. Yeah.
What do you do when you're not doing music? What do you do to relax? Are you reading? Are you reading great works of fiction or contemporary artists? Or
I don't read enough. I don't read as much as I should. But then again, who does? I mean, like, I spend a lot of time doing this. I mean, it's very, I'm in the process of moving. I mean, I've been making the last 2 years before the record came out, I was working on the record, and that was just obsessive.
right.
And I feel kind of like I'm in a bit of a state of recovery from that still. So I kind of tend to just lie on the floor a lot, stare at
When
the
you're not
ceiling.
in freezing cold environments like
Yeah.
Sundance in
Man.
New York City.
What is going on?
It's
just
following
like,
you around
It
back to
really is.
Glasgow, man.
Yeah, it's craziness. Crazy.
Do you think that your time in LA was a good introduction to the music business, like a music class 101? Make you
Yeah.
understand how it works in America.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely. I mean, in fact, a lot of people complain about LA, and they say, it's sort of, the cliche about it being sort of devoid of any culture, and to a certain extent, on a superficial level, that's true. But I think there's something really quite powerful about LA in the sense that, not in a particularly good sense, but in the sense that it kind of isolates you. It really isolates you if you're willing to kind of feel what's going on, and that can be, that can be a process of discovery. So in a way, like going to LA, that's where I feel like I found music and I became a musician. And then in terms of getting into and seeing the kind of capital of the music world and getting a slight insight into what that was all about, I think has kind of kept me safe from venturing too far into it,
You had the success of one of your songs on the OC.
Yeah.
Another taste of, today that's can be a profitable entry point for a band or a struggling artist to find an audience that typically you wouldn't find. What was that experience like?
I mean, it was great because there's no promotion or marketing behind this music, this record. There was certainly none behind the EP. So, I was conflicted. I mean, you're always slightly conflicted when the music is taken and put in any other context other than you just playing it for people.
Right.
I mean, even putting music on a recorded medium is, is like there's a slight conflict that's happening there. There's something slightly artificial and unnatural about that process, especially today when it's so readily available to people that you feel like people have kind of maybe lost a little bit of the reverence for the process of actually just live music.
Just a bit of detachment in the digital world.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, I can't complain because it helped me get out there and it helped me make the record. So on the one hand, I'm very happy about it. On the other hand, there's something about putting the music in a context that has nothing to do with it. That, especially, one that's somewhat commercial in that way. That has me kind of,
It wasn't like a David Lynch movie using your song.
See, that would be cool.
Yeah. There's always that medium, right? You can find.
But I mean, that's what I mean, interestingly enough, that's what I'm kind of trying to get more into, is because I've always been super into film, so I'm trying to get like closer to that. But yeah, to get back to the TV thing, I mean, I think it's great. I think that, in measure, it's all right. The problem is that it seems to be becoming such the prevalent way that music is getting out there, that people are almost like attaching, it's almost like if you've been on such and such a show, then you're that kind. It's almost like the show has taken.
Yeah, you've sold out to the OC, man.
Yeah, but it's taken precedent, almost like in terms of the aesthetic of the music becomes subservient to the aesthetic of the program of the show.
Right.
It's kind of weird that way a bit. I don't know.
No, I think that there are those prejudices. I think we try to compartmentalize and market people and put them in these little boxes and say, this is your music, Alexi, and this is where you belong. And, it may be a bit jarring for somebody to hear your music out of that context as a standalone piece of music, start to finish, Well,
that's the thing. I mean, who takes the time? I mean, that's the other thing. Who really takes the time these days to sit down and listen to a record from start to finish, That's like a process that's like, people are willing to go and spend like 3 hours these days they're making films, and like most of it is just like a load of crap, and they'll literally sit there and give undivided attention to something that's just going to go like right through their brain, but they won't sit and listen to records
or see someone live.
Right. I mean, it's weird that music, being as important as it is and so prevalent in all those other media, doesn't kind of inspire people to kind of just stop and chill for a bit, which is kind of what I'm trying to do.
Making it stand still a little bit.
Well, a little bit, like the record was important to me, like as a record, as opposed to just a bunch of singles. We recorded it live, and it was all about sequencing it in a way that felt like, it was all recorded in the same space, and it was like capturing that.
Well, that's very Pink Floyd, because they never did singles. It was always one entire piece.
Right. They were great, man.
Yeah. And that balance. Do you ever see yourself working in that kind of context, even more swirling and psychedelic with your acoustic guitar as a centerpiece?
Yeah,
perhaps?
I mean, I've started playing electric as well, and I'm obviously super excited. I mean, the record for me was sort of like a departure point in a way. Like, I walked into the record just sort of with these songs on acoustic guitar, and as I started to bring people in and explore the possibilities, it's sort of like, it was really, mind-opening in that way, and I'm super excited to see what's coming next. I mean, who knows?